For this first variation, I'm going to use a chair. You could also use a stool, a table, anything at around this height. You'll set up with one leg up on your surface. And a key point here is the foot is going to stay flat. So I'm going to show you moving with my hips, but we don't want the foot to leave the surface. So I'm going to keep my whole foot planted on the chair. Then I'm going to stretch my butt by reaching it back. So if you think about my belt buckle here, imaginary belt buckle, I want to reach this side of it towards my front heel and pull this side of it back. So I'm trying to reach my butt as far back as I can, and you'll see instinctively I start grabbing onto my chair. This doesn't need to be a balance exercise, so feel free to use your hands however you can to facilitate finding a stretch. Now we don't want the sensation to be in the front of the hip, we want it to be in the back. So you can maneuver around here a bit and search for a nice stretch. When you find it, hang out there and feel the stretch. We'll take 3 deep breaths, nice and slowly. In through the nose, out through the mouth, and keep holding on to that stretch. That might mean you need to move a little further into it. It might mean you can stay right where you are. After 3 deep breaths, we're going to keep the position the same, but push the foot down into the chair. So if you imagine the chair is now a scale, think about trying to register more and more weight into that scale, and you might feel some strengthy sensations back here now. Another way to think of this is imagine you're trying to stand up on the chair. So trying to push into it as if you were going to stand up, but instead you stay right down here. The second variation is actually my favorite, but I think it can be a little harder to feel at first. So if you were able to feel that sensation in the first stretch, we're trying to find a similar thing in this second one. So I'm going to set up standing on the floor. That front leg will still be doing a similar thing, but now this back leg is going to slide back, and I'm going to let it pull my hips with it. So you could think of this as like a hinge, a deadlift, or a single leg deadlift. The back foot can be as far back or not as is comfortable for you. And again, you can hold on to something for balance. It doesn't need to be a balance exercise. As I pull myself into this stretch, you might already feel it here, but then where it can get even more delicious, I'm going to take the back knee and think about reaching it towards the floor. So that's going to spiral me a little bit deeper into the stretch. You can see my torso is now facing closer to you as opposed to the floor, and I feel this big stretch back here. If you don't need assistance, great, or use as little as you can. And we're just going to hold this. So now we're doing that kind of strengthy sensation just to hold our body weight in this stretch. One last piece, you can reach forward to help that spiraling action as well. If either of these variations felt good for you, after you've done it on each side, you can test how it's feeling by trying to do some sort of hip hinge like you were going to do a deadlift, or sitting into a deep squat. You should feel that opening up of the hips allows you to go deeper into that hip hinge, feeling much better.